Hello and welcome. This week I'm going to be talking about the subclasses in the fantastic Griffon Saddlebag Book 2. I really wish we'd get the other books in this series on D&D Beyond, but here we are without them, unfortunately. The book in general is one of the best purchases you can probably make for yourself or for your players if you are a DM. It's just replete with content and stuff to go over. The magic items are where a lot of people focus, but it's also got some really cool subclasses. So, because I love you all, and also this is apparently what I do with the channel now, I'm going to be doing a review of them all. Cha-cha. You know the deal, we're doing alphabetical order. This book includes 12 subclasses, one for each of the core classes. Maybe one day Artificer will come to Creative Commons and then it will get some love, but here we are in the meantime. So, I'm getting a cough, perfect. We're starting off with the Path of the Infernal Barbarian. These will work with the 2024 rules, whether they were designed for the 2014 rules, but you can use them for either on D&D Beyond, in case you're wondering about that. As ever, fantastic artwork for these books. You have found the conduit of your rage in something scarier than you'd find on the material plane. Your inner fury burns from the hells themselves, manifesting itself as a series of fiendish transformation and flames whenever you enter a rage. The origin of this power may have been a near-death experience that showed you the lower planes, or perhaps it came from a soul-binding contract with a powerful devil. And then stuff about tieflings. Also, hell hath no fury quite like you. Love it. I like the flavor text straight off the bat because it actually says about forming a pact, which isn't something you often get to do as a barbarian, and having that bit of RP potential there is really, really cool. So, at level 3, you get Hellfire Claw. Whenever you rage, one of your hands turns into a large fiery claw, which is pretty cool. It remains for the duration of your rage, and if you're wielding a weapon with that hand, the flames spread across the weapon, imbuing it with extra damage. You basically do an extra 1d6 of fire damage. If you choose not to deal the extra damage of the weapon attack, you can use your bonus action to make an unarmed strike with the claw and deal damage with the claw there, which is pretty cool. It deals the extra damage from your unarmed strike plus an extra d6 of fire damage. This damage goes up at 6th, 10th and 12th level. Nope, 6th, 10th and 14th level. A nice little bit of extra damage is always good. An extra attack option is also pretty cool because you can use your strength attack with your unarmed strike, which means you can actually add your rage modifier there too. And then the ribbon feature at this level is Hellborne. You can add your strength modifier to intimidation and persuasion checks when interacting with fiends, and you can read or write either abyssal or infernal. It's up to you. And later on you can add your strength modifier to all charisma checks, all intimidation checks. At 6th level you get resistance to fire damage, and if you use the attack action to grapple a creature when you're raging, it takes the damage from the Hellfire Claw's attack, basically. And it takes that damage at the end of each of its turns while it's grappled. So this is a nice way of building potentially towards an unarmed fighter, if that's something you're trying to do. Unarmed barbarian. I feel like there's not enough building into the unarmed barbarian like play fantasy. It's something that you don't see many subclasses go for, which is strange to me. I know that monks sort of have that unlock, but they're all serene and stuff. So at 10th level you get Planar Conspirator. You can use an action to spend 2 hit dice without gaining any hit points to cast the Detect Thoughts spell, which is super fun and it's based on your con mod. Giving that to a barbarian is just super fun. I don't know how often you're realistically going to use that, but it's a nice feature. And then at 14th level, whenever you take damage from a creature you can see with us within 60 feet while you're raging, you can use a reaction to beat the flame from your claw at them, basically, which duplicates the effect of the Hellish Rebuke spell. The 3rd level version, you can do this twice per rage, is a really fun way of doing that because it means you can, if you want to, kind of end your rage and restart your rage on a turn or over a course of a couple of turns in order to get more casts of that if that's something you need. Overall, the flavour here is undeniable and it's a cool subclass. On to the Bard, which is the College of Mercantile. Mercantile? I think this is one of those words I've just never really read out loud. You know when that happens? I'm sure you know. You're watching a D&D video. You understand these things. Bards of the College of Mercantile, guess that's what we're going with, are well versed in the artistry of cutting deals and enemies alike in order to come out ahead. Talented merchants, smugglers and tradesmen alike all learn from this college in some form or another, using both silvered words and sharp cunning to inspire their allies and subvert competition. These calculated risk-takers travel the world to make their mark and their fortune by navigating treacherous landscapes, economies, and people. With even just a copy to the name, these bards are always worth their weight in gold. It's a money bard. I think a lot of people tend to play bards as being really interested in money, so this is a good fit for that. Coin flip. At level 3, you can use a creature that uses a bardic inspiration die from you can choose to forego rolling the die to flip a coin instead. If it's heads, the creature teaches the If it's heads, the creature treats the bardic inspiration die as if it rolled the max number. If it's tails, the GM takes the bardic inspiration die and can use it whenever another creature of the GM's choice makes an ability check, attack roll, or saving throw instead. The GM can have multiple bardic inspiration die at a time, but can only add one of them to a roll at a time. When you finish a long rest, the GM loses any of these taken bardic inspiration die. I adore stuff that adds more to the interplay between the DM and the players. The DM and the players are always on the same side, generally speaking. Even though the DM is obviously the one controlling the monsters and some of the story beats, you're not running these games because you don't like your players, I would assume. If you are, maybe find different players, and if you feel as though your DM is doing that, maybe find a different DM. So stuff like this is just really entertaining. I really liked it with the Liar's Dice feature from the Gunslinger. I really like it here too. Magic coin. Whereas other bards may use words and songs as a means of conjuring their spells, you instead use a simple coin. You can use any coin worth at least 1 copper piece as a spellcasting focus for your bard spells. In addition, you can use an action to magically fling a coin from your hand at a target within 60 feet of you. Make a ranged spell attack using the coin, and use your charisma modifier for the attack. On a hit, the target takes 1 bludgeoning damage plus 1d12 thunder attack. The coin returns to your hand. If you roll a 20 on the attack against a hostile creature using a non-magical copper, silver, electrum, or gold piece, the coin is magically duplicated when it returns to your hand. It can appear in your hand, at your feet, or in a coin pouch. The coin's damage increased by 1d12 when you reach 6th and 14th level. So this isn't a spell, which means that you can do this and cast spells, which is always good. So it's effectively a special version of a cantrip, and this being 2d12 at 6th level makes it a lot more powerful than a lot of the cantrips bards can get naturally. It's also just good fun, which is great. At level 6 you get Money Talks. You can enchant a mundane copper, silver, electrum, gold, or platinum piece you're holding in this way using an action. Okay, so you enchant the coin with divination magic. I skipped the first sentence because some of these are just like flavor, and flavor is important but also free. So anyway, a creature holding the coin that knows at least one language can understand the meaning of any word you speak, and when it speaks you understand what it says. In addition, you have advantage on the first persuasion check you make when negotiating the value of a good or service with a creature that's holding or carrying the enchanted coin. Alternatively, you can use an action to see or hear through the enchanted coin until your next turn as if you're in the coin's space. During this time, you are deaf and blind with regard to your own senses. The coin remains enchanted for 10 minutes or until you end the effect early. You can use this feature a number of times equal to charisma modifier, and you regain them on a long rest. This is on an RP ribbon feature, but it's quite strong. Like having advantage on persuasion checks if you given someone a coin is pretty good. Buy something cheap from a merchant and then convince them to sell you something else for cheaper. Pretty cool. 14th level, whenever you cast a spell that consumes a material component, drink a potion, or use a spell scroll that's worth no more than 500 gold pieces, there is a 50% chance that component, potion, or scroll isn't consumed. In addition, you can use a bonus action to take the use an object action to drink a potion. Right, so using an object is good as a bonus action there. Drinking a potion is not as good because that's just how the rules work now. Overall though, that's a really interesting bard for like merchant's guild style campaign. The cleric domain is the Festus domain. Gods of eating and drinking such as Aether, or Dionysus. What is going on with my brain today? Promote the value of a good meal as much as they do the joy of sharing it with friends. As a follower of this domain, you believe that a good feast can be enough to settle most wars. You may know this firsthand. Perhaps your life has been marred by poverty and survival with spoiled scraps, or maybe you've been blessed with lovingly cooked meals and the joy of a full stomach. Regardless of your origin, you recognize the magic of a good meal and the power it has on one person's spirit and well-being. Through your passion and devotion, you see a mealtime as a joyous way to worship the magic of food and your chosen deity. You're a capable chef with an appreciation for food, both good and bad. You know that a foul meal can turn even the most veteran of stomachs against themselves, and have learned to harness this power for yourself. Like food, most people will like you at your best, but everyone will fear you at your worst. That's a fantastic line. So you get your Festus domain spells, as ever. The terms and conditions here, level 1, 2014, level 3, 2024. That's the same with all of the other subclasses. So you get Good Berry, Purify Food and Drink, Heat Metal, Protection from Poison, Create Food, Mortar, Stinking Cloud, Blight, Control Water, Cloud Kill, and Contagion. So as an aside, it always weirds me out that domain spells don't go higher than 9th level. I understand why, it's just a bit of a shame. Bonus proficiencies, you get proficiency with heavy armor, martial weapons, brew supplies, and cook's utensils. Table Turner, you can cause an attacker's own body to turn against itself. When a creature within 5 feet of you that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use a reaction to cause the creature to make a constitution saving throw against your cleric's spell save DC. On a failed save, the creature takes 1d12 poison damage and is poisoned until the end of its next turn. On a successful one, it takes half as much and isn't poisoned. You can do this in over time equal to your wisdom modifier. Long rest. It's interesting. I mean, being able to poison something, theoretically, is actually very, very strong. It gives them disadvantage on just about everything, which is amazing in the middle of combat. You also get the Channel Divinity, create healing draft. You can use your Channel Divinity as an action to create a small and magically concentrating potion called the Healing Draft. The potion appears in a small glass bottle in your free hand or at your feet. It's your choice and is a deep blue colour with flecks of gold. A creature that uses a bonus action to drink this potion regains a number of hit points equal to 2d6 plus your cleric level. The bottle and any undrunk healing draft turn to dust and is lost when you finish a short or long rest. It's pretty solid. Starting at 6th level, your divinity and magically enhanced constitution have strengthened your natural defences. You have advantage on saving throws against poison, and you have resistance to both acid and poison damage. In addition, whenever you cast the Create Food and Water spell, the food tastes delicious, and you can choose to replace up to 5 gallons of water created with the spell with ale or wine. You can choose what the food, ale, or wine look and taste like. Finally, if you're drunk or poisoned, you can use an action to magically suppress the effect for 1 minute. Once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a long rest. Level 8, you get Divine Strike once in each of your turns. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can cause the attack to deal an extra 1d8 poison or acid damage, and when you reach 14th, that goes up to 2d8. That's pretty solid. And at 17th level, you get Invigorating Feast. You can say a special prayer before eating a meal to enchant it and other food of your choice within 30 feet of you with unique protections. A creature that eats this enchanted food over the next 10 minutes gains 2d6 plus 10 temp health, and is immune to being charmed and can't be put to sleep by magic. These benefits last for 8 hours and don't sit and until 10 minutes are over. So you need to spend 10 minutes eating, basically. You and up to 6 other willing creatures, so this is up to 7 creatures in total, can use this. You can do this once per long rest. Temp health is a good thing, as it turns out. Immunity to charmed is great, and resistance to sleep is also super cool. That's a cool subclass. Clerics are generally pretty strong. Take away most cleric subclasses, and I think most clerics would be fine. I don't think this is a, particularly strong one, but it is, if you will indulge the pun, full of flavour. Druid. Dragons. Good point. That's it, that's the review. No, we'll have a look at the actual features, because we all love dragons, right? Some of us enough to get tattoos of them, but hey. The Circle of Dragons is an old order of druids steeped in rigid tradition. These honour-bound wardens of nature and draconic heritage are members of a secret society that have influenced governance, war, and culture across the world. High-standing members of this circle have ties to royal bloodlines that date back generations, a connection that's subtly showcased in royal family crests and insignia. Druids from this circle know that dragons, draconic mages, are as connected to the world as plants or beasts, and utilize that connection to transform into a unique and powerful draconic form all of their own. You get to be a dragon. Tell me this isn't the dream for most druid players. Draconic lore at 2nd level, you can speak, read, and write draconic. Additionally, when you make a history check related to draconic stuff, you can add a proficiency bonus to the check. If you're already proficient in it, you can have expertise instead, basically. You also gain the ability to use a wild shape to transform into your dragon shape. You become a median dragon in this form. You stand on all fours, but retain your normal character statistics and senses. Your dragon's shape AC is equal to 13 plus your dex modifier. A maximum of 2 is interesting, in my opinion, but that's fine. You will also have a walking and climbing speed of 30 feet. In addition, when you take this form, you gain temp health equal to your hit point maximum. So, right, the thing is, wild shapes, the temp health at least, got massively nerfed in 2024, as a lot of you will know. So that's a lot of temp health. But then you're a dragon, and your AC is not great. When you use your dragon shape, you determine what kind of dragon you transform into. The type of dragon determines what your scale, colour, and breath weapons damage type, as shown in the table below. We'll get to that in a minute. But your appearance is otherwise up to you. Your wings aren't fully formed at level 2, but you'll grow stronger as you go through the levels. You get the bite action. You can use your dagger-like teeth to make an unarmed strike. This is an unarmed strike, which means that if you have braces of unarmed attack, that will boost that, as it's not a natural weapon. Always important to know. You can use your wisdom modifier instead of your strength to attack, and if you hit with it, you deal damage equal to 1d12 plus your strength or wisdom modifier instead of the bludgeoning damage for a normal unarmed strike. You also get a breath weapon, which you can use as an action. Each creature in a 15-foot cone must make a dex save against your spell save DC and will take 2d6 damage on a failed save or half as much on a successful one. You can only use this once a minute. And at 6th level, this goes up to 3d6 damage and a 20-foot cone. 10th level is 4d6, 25, and 14th level is 5d6 and 30. It's all the standard dragon types, basically metallic and chromatic, with all the standard resistances and things that you would expect. At level 6, you get an improved version of this. Your AC becomes 1 more, so 14 plus your dex mod, again only 2 high, a boost of 2. You also gain claws that you can use to make unarmed strikes. You use your wisdom fire instead of your mod, instead of your strength, and they deal 2d6 plus your wisdom, and slashing instead of bludgeoning. When you take the attack action, you can make 1 bite and 1 claw attack, and they both count as magical not particularly relevant in 2024. You also get dark vision up to 60 feet, or it boosts it by 30 feet if you already have dark vision from your species. At 10th level, you gain the ability to cast some spells. It must use a druid's spell slot of 3rd or lower, and it can't require any material components. In addition, you can fly. Your dex, your AC goes up by another 1. You have resistance to the damage type associated with your shape, and you have a flying speed of 30 feet. Really, the big thing at 10th level, the flying helps, obviously, hugely, but I would say that the biggest thing there is most likely the ability to cast level 3 or below spells. That's pretty huge. And then 14th level, you can use your breath weapon even when you're not a dragon. You can only do this once per long rest. And your AC goes up to 16, plus your dex, which is a max of 18. Your flying speed increased to 40. And when you use the attack action on your turn, you can make 1 bite and 2 claw attacks. Finally, you can choose to become a large dragon instead of a medium dragon, which will increase your bite to a reach of 10 feet instead of 5. I mean, it does the one thing, and it does it incredibly well, so this is 100% the subclass that you want to choose if you want to roleplay a dragon. Be a dragonborn, druid of the circle of dragons, dragging it up. You'll be able to live your best life. I have full faith. The fighter subclass is genuinely one of the coolest in this book, in my opinion. The Steel Hawk is a powerful, nimble soldier from the mountain city of Heaven Step. Steel Hawks use explosive bursts of speed to launch themselves great distances in order to reach faraway threats. Despite their often heavy armor, those who follow this archetype leap and strike with the agility of seasoned assassins, becoming every inch the fearsome birds of prey their name would suggest. What is wrong with my words? This is, in short, the Dragoon from Final Fantasy and other various things that have Dragoon. From 3rd level onward, when standing on a solid surface, you can use a bonus action to leap horizontally or vertically, or a combination of both, up to a combined distance that totals more than 15 feet. This is much better if you measure things properly, but it does break it down if you want to go 10 feet up and 5 feet across, which is not going to be 15 feet, because that's not how physics works, but hey. When you reach 7th level, this distance goes up to 30. If you choose to jump horizontally, you are 1 foot off the ground, so you can avoid things like that, but you can still go 30 feet, and it doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, and if you fall after using the feature, you can subtract up to 30 feet when calculating the fall damage, which is super cool. So you can just jump straight up, not take the full damage. You can use this feature 3 times. You regain all uses on a short or long rest. At level 7th, you get 4. At level 15, you get 5. If you use a melee attack, after using the launch, you have advantage on the attack roll, and if it deals damage, the target takes an extra 1d8 of the weapon's type. At 10th, this goes to 1d10, and at 18th, this goes to 1d12. The attack can be made immediately after you land, at the end of the leap, or during the leap's movement. I just think, even with literally just that one feature, this is already one of the coolest subclasses I've read about, and I've read some sick subclasses. I think the fighter in 2024 rules is incredibly strong as is. It was good in 2014. I just feel like 2024 is just... If you haven't played a fighter, or if you haven't DM'd players playing fighters, you can't appreciate just how potent they can be. The sheer efficiency on display, and then the extra little boosts they get from all the 2024 features is sublime. If I wasn't already playing an Echo Knight, I would love to play this subclass. You also get to change your weaponry to a degree. Lances gain the versatile property when you're not mounted, dealing 1d8 piercing damage, or 1d12 when 1d8 in one hand, 1d12 with 2. When you use your lance feature and immediately hit with a melee attack using a lance, it counts as if you're wielding it with 2... Sorry, if you do your jump and then you hit with a melee attack, it counts as if you're holding it with 2 hands, even if you're holding it with 1. If you hit a creature within 5 feet of you with a lance, you can immediately move up to 5 feet away from it without provoking an opportunity attack. You must be standing and have movement remaining in order to move this way. Also at level 3, you can identify birds by their calls, gives you advantage on wisdom handling, animal handling checks with any beast that has an innate flying speed, and you gain the ability to cast the animal messenger spell, but only as a ritual and only tasking a beast that has an innate flying speed. That's a lot of good stuff at level 3. Even the ribbon feature there, the bird caller one, is like cool, right? So Steel Grace, wearing armor doesn't impose disadvantage on your dexterity checks, so you can be the heaviest armor and still have preposterously good stealth. In addition, whenever you make a dexterity saving throw, you can use your launch feature as a reaction. When you do so, take no damage if you succeed on the saving throw, and half if you fail. Gives you evasion. As a fighter, sure, look at this sick art. That's the dream, right? At level 10, you can Eagle Eye. Your attack made immediately after or during your launch crits on a 19 or 20. If you hit a flying creature with this attack, it must also make a strength saving throw or have its speed reduced to 0. In addition, you gain proficiency in the perception skill if you don't already have it, and your proficiency bonus is doubled for any perception checks you make that rely on sight. Level 15, you get advantage on initiative rolls, and if you have no uses of launch remaining when you roll initiative, you regain 1 use. And at 18, when you hit a creature with a melee attack after or during your launch, it must succeed on a saving throw or be knocked prone. It's strength-based, the modifier, by the way, which is good to know. In addition, you can push yourself beyond normal limits when you use the launch feature. When you do, your leap can be a maximum of 90 feet instead of 30. You don't suffer any falling damage from falling until you land again. You can only do this once per short or long rest, but if you do decide to do it more than that, you gain a level of exhaustion every time you do it, and you can't do it if you're suffering more than two or more levels of exhaustion. I think this fighter subclass delivers on both the flavour of it and on the general strength of it. I think it would be an absolute blast to play, whether you are jumping off of a mount or you are just propelling yourself out of the sky down at things or anything else. I think it's just really cool. Good work, Griffon Saddlebag. You did it. We're now at the halfway point with the monk, which is the way of the aether. Monks of the way of the aether tap into the energy of spirits and the ethereal plane. The energy is the 5th element, aether, which is contained by every living and non-living soul. Sometimes called ghost fists, the monks of this tradition explore the material plane and ethereal planes on a lifelong mission to give the souls of the dead a final resting place. By aligning the ki and aether within themselves, the monks of this tradition treat their spirit as an extension to their physical bodies and move through the world unimpeded by material objects like a ghost. It's a bit like a ghosty astral self is one of my favourite monk subclasses. The monk that I am playing in a campaign is an astral self monk. He is level 17. He is real strong, as it turns out. Let's see. Level 3, you learn to send out blue flashes of spiritual energy to attack your foes. Whenever you make an unarmed strike, you can make a melee spell attack with your spirit instead. You are proficient with this attack, which has a reach of 30, and you add your wisdom modifier to its attack and damage. Its damage type is force, and the damage die is a d4. This changes as you gain much like... Okay, so this is actually... So it's not a d4, it would be a d6 in 2024 rules. I'm sure that everyone would be fine with that DM-wise. It does link it to the martial arts die. So when you reach 6th level, you can use your stunning strike feature when you hit a creature with your spirit strike. Very cool. You also gain the mage hand cantrip, and you can control it as a bonus action. Doesn't require verbal or somatic components, and it appears as a blue spiritual copy of your own. Spectral guide. You can't be possessed by ghosts or similar undead creatures, and you can use an action to spend 2 ki points to cast either the gentle repose or see invisibility spells without requiring material components. You also gain the spare the dying cantrip if you don't already know it. Furthermore, you learn how to free souls from the undead vessels when you harness your ki. When you hit an undead with one of the attacks granted by your flurry of blows, you can force it to make a wisdom save against your ki save DC. On a failed save, its spirit leaves and is put to rest, causing the creature to either vanish or become an unmoving corpse. This gets stronger as you go, up to 4th CR. So you can't be doing this on liches, but you can do this on a lot of zombies and ghosts and stuff. Pretty cool. It counts as a turn undead effect in terms of resistances and stuff. At 11th level, you can choose to partially slip into the ethereal plane, granting you the following benefits. You can spend 1 ki point as a bonus action to turn invisible until the end of your next turn, or until you make an attack or cast a spell. Alternatively, you can spend a ki point as part of your Step of the Wind to gain this benefit. When you do, you can also move through hostile creatures, solid objects no more than 4 inches thick, as long as you remain invisible. When you are hit by an attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the attack's damage against you by an amount equal to your monk level as you partially slip into the border ethereal. You can use this a number of times equal to a wisdom modifier, and you get it more back on a long rest, not a short rest. Poor monk. And at level 17, you gain true sight and telepathy up to 60 feet, as you are able to clearly see the world and connect to the souls with it using aether. In addition, you can use an action to cast the ethereal spell. When you do, it has a duration of 1 minute and can only be done once per long rest. I think this is great if you're doing an undead themed campaign, Curse of Strahd or something, right? Would be really, really cool. Otherwise, I do think the Astral Self has this one beat out, and they are very similar in terms of the flavour that you're going for, unless you're specifically going for an undead spiritual thing. But even then, the Astral Self was meant to be like within themselves, so it's cool. I just think the Astral Self is better. What are we at? We're at 34 minutes. Good gravy. I need a distraction break. The Paladin is the oath of the spelldrinker, which is devoted to ridding the world of renegade mages such as liches or the occult in order to protect the helpless from the forces of evil magic. The Paladins who swear this oath believe in maintaining the balance of power between the ordinary and the extraordinary, including themselves. These Paladins are resourceful and quick to remember their own mortality and privilege, often choosing to pursue mundane solutions before magical ones. Despite their caution, these wardens of balance are exemplary arcanists who feel the weave of magic in the world as keenly as some of the finest sorcerers. The tenets are: be the sword, be a stalwart champion of fairness and equality among all. The sword doesn't cheat fate, it dances with it. Be the shield, defend the innocent against the forces of rampant magic. The shield is patient and unwavering in the face of the unknown. And be the spell. Use your power to provide balance and guidance. The spell can lead to prosperity as easily as it can ruin. You must always choose the righteous path. Your Oath of the Spelldrinker spells are Bane, Detect Magic, Arcanist, Magic Aura, Hold Person, Dispel Magic, Slow, Dimension Door, Resilient Sphere, Dominate Person, and Scrying. Fairly solid. Some of them are a bit niche, but pretty decent for the most part, I would say. You get, skipping ahead a little bit because I just read it, you get proficient to the Arcana skill. You also get 2 Channel Divinities. Using your Channel Divinity, you can interrupt a creature you can see within 30 feet of you casting a spell. You can use reaction when you see a creature within range casting a spell to present your holy symbol and interrupt it. The spell fails or has no effect if it is of a level no higher than 1 plus your paladin level divided by 3. Good gravy. Rounded up. So at level 1, 2, 3, 4, until level 5, that's only cantrips are level 1 spells. At level 5, that becomes level 2 spells and below, because it's 5 plus 1 divided by 3 is 2. Broke my brain a little bit. When it does, you gain temp health, equal to charisma modifier plus 5 times the spell's level. It's nice. The issue is obviously that's going to take a while to get going, but hey. You can also do Expeditious Command. You can use your Channel Divinity to issue Word of Power and release a wave of invigorating energy from your holy symbol. As a bonus action, choose a number of creatures within 30 feet of you, up to your charisma modifier. Until the start of your next turn, the chosen creatures can use a bonus action to either dash or disengage. You can also do this. It's not bad. Beginning at 7th level, the arcane energy that hangs around you is volatile to enemy spellcasters. Whenever a hostile creature ends its turn within 10 feet of you or concentrating on a spell, it must succeed on a concentration saving throw against your paladin spell save DC or lose concentration on the spell. In addition, you and friendly creatures within 10 feet of you can't be perceived through magical scrying sensors. This goes up to 30 feet at level 18. That's really, really cool and is great if other players can bring you spellcasters that are concentrating on things for whatever reason. Level 15, while you're concentrating on a paladin spell, your concentration can't be broken as a result of taking damage, which is decent. And at level 20, you can emanate a field of crackling magic in a 30-foot radius. You gain this for 1 minute, and you get resistance to spells and have advantage on saving throws against spells. Whenever a creature hits you, it takes force damage equal to charisma modifier, with a melee attack, sorry. Whenever you expend a spell slot of 1st or higher, friendly creatures in the field regain hit points equal to your charisma modifier, while hostile ones take force damage equal to the spell same amount instead. Once you use this feature, you can't do it again until you use a long rest. So you get this for 1 minute, and you get this like magically buff state. It's really, really cool. It's an interesting concept. The whole mage hunter thing is a classic. I think we've seen it before a fair few times in Paladins. It's like a fairly common fantasy, but this one kind of being part of the problem, as it were, is an interesting take on things. The ranger subclass is the Rocborne. Rocborne are nomads of the sky who travel the world on the backs of ancestral rocks. These travellers understand that the air and wind aren't just one force, but the collective effort of untold numbers of spirits that are carried along by listening to the wind in the same way a medium beckons to the dead. A Rocborne can learn more about the weather, their path forward, and even themselves. Many of them grow up and live in this culture for their entire lives, but some have been known to begin their own journeys. Alternatively, your path may have been crossed by a powerful windborne spirit later on in life, allowing you to suddenly feel and heed the guiding wind inside of you. By calling on the spirits of the wind to aid them, rangers of this archetype can exert a degree of control over both wind and weather. These skills will pass down from rocks to the first Rocborne and continue to live on through dedicated instruction of Rocborne elders, both living and dead. You may be taught these skills or have them passed on to you through the guidance of Rocborne spirits in whispers, dreams, or moments of deep meditation. Interesting flavour, for sure. At 3rd level, you can learn an additional spell when you reach certain levels in this class, as shown in the Rocborne spells table. These spells count as a ranger spell for you, but do not count against the number of ranger spells you know. Featherfall, Gust of Wind, Lightning Bolt, Ice Storm, Legend Lore. All pretty solid. From level 3, you also can choose one of these on each of your turn. When you hit with a weapon attack, the target takes an extra d4 of weapon's type. When you reach 11th level in this class, this damage goes up to 1d8. This is only once per turn, which is good to know. And when you miss with a weapon attack, you can change its trajectory back to a different target up to 5 feet away. When you do, your attack roll against the new target is equal to the attack roll, your original attack roll, plus your wisdom modifier. When you reach 11th level, this target can be 15 feet away, so you can kind of redirect your arrows, is the theory there. Although it does say weapon attack, it doesn't say melee attack, which means that you could try and hit something with a sword and hit something 15 feet away instead, which is just very funny. You can also spend 10 minutes communing with spirits to gain proficiency in one tool or skill of your choice that you don't already have proficiency in. You lose this on a short or long rest. You can do this a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier. It doesn't say that you can only do this, have one at a time, so you can kind of skill yourself up with this, which is pretty fun. And by 7th level, your walking speed increases by 5 feet. You ignore any movement penalty caused by strong wind, and you can't be pushed by cut because of strong wind against your will. That's super niche. In addition, you have resistance to cold damage, not bad, and you're fine with altitudes as high as 20,000 feet. Again, that is so niche, but I do like it. At 11th level, you can use a bonus action immediately after you make a running jump to grow a spectral rock-like pair of wings that last until your next turn or until you touch the ground again. You have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. And then Hurricane at level 15, your connection to the wind is so strong that you can come to your defense, basically. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to give yourself resistance to that damage, or take no damage instead if it was falling damage. When you do so, each creature of your choice within 15 feet of you must make a strength saving throw against your ranger spell save DC. On a failed save, a creature takes bludgeoning damage equal to your ranger level and is knocked prone. On a successful, they take half as much, not knocked prone. When you use this feature, you can choose to allow the wind spirits to immediately fly you to an unoccupied space within 30 feet of you without provoking opportunity attacks. You can do this once per short or long rest. I think the guiding wind here could just be on ranged attacks and be on every attack. Personally, an extra d4 on each hit isn't going to break the game. Neither is an extra d8, especially with how rangers are in general. It's just a ranger. Poor rangers. Rogue gets the Grim Surgeon. You developed a unique familiarity with knives, bodies, and blood in your line of work. Like a tinkerer's knowledge of clockwork and gears, you've come to understand how bodies are put together instead. Medical experts in rough or war-torn cities and villages may follow this archetype, but so do rogues who take a particular interest in the clerical and necromantic magic. A Grim Surgeon uses medical knowledge and strange blood magic to dismantle foes and restore allies and control bodies like puppets. Level 3, you gain proficiency in the medicine skill. If not, you get expertise, which is nice. No, your proficiency is doubled, so you just get expertise? That's weird wording. In addition, your familiarity with blood has become magical, giving you some degree of control over it. As a result, you can use a bonus action to magically stabilize an unconscious creature within 5 feet of you. You can use the same magic when you apply traditional healing techniques. You can use a bonus action to expend one use of a healer's kit on a creature. When you do, that creature gains hit points equal to 1d4 plus your proficiency bonus. The creature can't regain hit points from this feature until it finishes a short rest. I mean, extra hit points is always good. Also at level 3, when you deal sneak attack damage to a creature that isn't a construct or an undead, you gain temp health equal to your wisdom modifier. Once you reach level 13, you gain temp health equal to twice your wisdom modifier instead. These last until the start of your next turn. Shame they don't last longer, but that's not bad. Level 9, your medical expertise and blood magic allow you to painlessly mend an ally's wounds using surgical techniques. You decide to use this feature at the start of a short rest. Choose a willing creature within your reach. When you do so, roll your sneak attack dice and record the result. At the end of the short rest, the creature regains a number of hit points equal to the total of your sneak attack dice roll. Once a creature regains health from this, it can't do it again until the long rest. At level 13, when you gain temporary health from your transfusion feature, the target of the attack is overcome by a wave of sickness. Until at the end of its next turn, its speed is reduced by 10 feet, and it has disadvantage on its next attack roll or ability check until the end of its next turn. And then finally, we've got Bloodbound. 17th level, you can command the blood inside certain creatures. Immediately after you deal sneak attack damage to a beast or a humanoid, you can force the creature to make a con save. On a failed save, the creature is under the effect of Dominate Beast or Dominate Person for 1 minute until you choose to end the effect. Once you finish this, short or long rest. That's a really strong capstone ability for sure, even though it's a con save, which is based on your wisdom modifier, which means that you do want to boost your wisdom as well. But I mean, it's cool. It's going to be a hard one to land. Con saves are hard to beat in D&D. This one is full of vibes. I think it does a really good way of kind of leaning into that. I do think you could probably just give them some magic, honestly. Just a couple of spells and you'd be fine, but hey. Sorcerer, we have the Desert Soul. Your power comes from the relentless and punishing magic that lies at the heart of the world's most unforgiving deserts. Most sorcerers with this power were born to nomads or travelling pilgrims in the Herethi deserts, but perhaps yours came to you in the chaos of a raging sandstorm or the springs of a magical oasis. Regardless of its origin, the blistering magic spirals around inside of you in an ever-present storm that can reduce even the sturdiest enemies to rubble. Let's see, at first or third level, you can ignore difficult terrain created by sand, and you can tolerate temperatures as high as 150 degrees Fahrenheit without any additional protection. I don't know what that is in Celsius. I want to say like 48. I googled it, I was wildly off. It's 65.5. So the conversion makes no sense. You can also cause the magical sandstorm within you to manifest manifest as a nearby twister. When you cast a spell of first level or higher, you can use your bonus action to create the storm in a space you can see within 30 feet of you. A large or smaller creature in the area must succeed on a strength saving throw against your sorcerer spell save DC. A creature that fails the saving throw is pushed up to 10 feet in a direction of your choice if it's medium or smaller, or 5 if it's large. I really like that distinction. It's nice that you can still move large creatures, and I think this is something that a lot of the game needs to understand. It's one of my big issues with grapple is you might not be able to grapple like a dragon to stop it moving. You should be able to grab onto it to give yourself advantage on your attacks. Anyway, when you reach 6th level in this class, the creature that fails the saving throw also takes 1d8 bludgeoning or fire, and then it goes up to 2d8 at 14th, 3d8 at 18th. At 6th level, you learn Mirror Image. If you already know this, you get to choose a different spell. Doesn't count against your number of known spells, and you can cast it by spending 2 sorcery points or by expending a spell slot. If you cast it with its sorcery points, any creature within 10 feet of you that destroys one of the spell's illusions takes fire damage equal to half your sorcerer level. This illusion bursts into a wave of scalding air and sand. This is like a mid-range sorcerer so far, which is interesting. I still think it's weird that we don't have any melee sorcerers, but maybe that's just me. At 14th level, you have the ability to step into the heart of the twisters you create immediately after a creature is pushed by your sandstorm feature. You can spend 2 sorcery points to teleport to the storm's space. You can also teleport this way if you create the storm in a space that is unoccupied. When you teleport this way, you and any equipment you are wearing or carrying are invisible until the end of your turn. That's pretty cool. Only until the end of your turn, but that's still not bad. Let me reread the sandstorm. It's a bonus action. So you can do bonus action, teleport, become invisible, then use an attack to have advantage on it, theoretically. Or just, run away. Level 18, you can spend 5 sorcery points as a bonus action to transform yourself into Sandman from Spider-Man. You can't be grappled. You and your equipment can move through a space as narrow as an inch, and you can move through the space of any creature regardless of its size and ignore difficult terrain. In addition, when an attacker that you can see hits you with an attack, you can use a reaction to turn to sand. Until the end of that turn, you have resistance to all damage, including the triggering attack. It's a nice defensive feature. Sorcerers are so strong offensively anyway, so I actually think of the classes in D&D, Sorcerer is the one that can get away with a less aggressive subclasses, and I think that this whole thing fits quite nicely into that. The temperature resistance thing is super niche, as with a lot of these subclasses actually are very obviously fitting in the setting of Griffon Saddlebag. But it's a fairly solid subclass, I think. All in all. Warlock. Look at that art. Your patron is a powerful entity composed of a multitude of heads. These heads provide unique strengths such as the regenerative properties of a mighty hydra or the bewitching gaze of a Medusa. Your patron may consider you one of its estranged or forgotten heads, allowing you to do as you please or compel you to work within a shared goal of its own. Those that make a pact with a patron such as this may find beauty in patterns or matching sets, or become plagued with internal bickering and indecisiveness. Regardless, one thing is certain, 2 heads are always better than 1. And then it gives you a list of things that you could use from the book that it could be. There's a bunch of stuff, so pretty cool. You get the extended spell list. You get Entangle, Magic Missile, Scorching Ray, See Invisibility, Blink, Non-Detection, Arcane Eye, Black Tentacles, Mislead, and Telepathic Bonds. At 1st or 3rd level, you gain a number of Eldritch heads equal to your proficiency bonus. Only you and creatures of true sight can see these heads, which sprout from your soldiers as representations of your patron. You can choose to ignore the heads and cause them to vanish from your vision. Always good. They provide you with special powers. Once per turn, you can expend a head when you hit a creature, to cause that creature to take extra psychic damage equal to 1 plus your proficiency bonus. And when you make a charisma an intimidation check, you can expend 1 head to give yourself advantage on the roll. When you do, these heads briefly become visible to everyone. When you fail a death saving throw, you can expend a head to succeed instead. When the head is expended, its appearance becomes wispy and gaseous, but its glowing eyes remain. You regain all of these heads on a long rest. In addition, you can use a bonus action to beseech your patron to restore 2 of the heads. Once you do this, you can't do it again until you finish a long rest. Also at level 1, while you have at least 1 head remaining, you can't be surprised, and if a creature would gain an advantage on an attack roll against you due to having its ally within 5 feet of you, it makes the attack roll without advantage, so this nullifies pack tactics, which is pretty cool. Level 6, you get a bonus to your heads. That's a weird sentence. You can use a bonus action to expend 1 Eldritch head, reabsorbing it to gain a number of temp health equal to 2d6 plus your charisma modifier. Once per turn, you can expend 1 head to take a reaction, even if you've already used your reaction. You can't use this benefit on the same turn that you take your normal reaction. 2 reactions are better than 1, I think. That can be unequivocally the case, especially if you've got Warcaster. Eldritch Blast twice is solid. When you fail a saving throw against being charmed, frightened, or put to sleep by magic, you can expend 1 head to re-roll the saving throw. If you do so, you must use the new roll. Level 10, you get Groupthink. Your Eldritch heads are always there to support your mortal mind and body. I mean, who doesn't love a bit of support, right? You gain a bonus to intelligence checks, wisdom perception checks, and intelligence saving throws equal to half your proficiency bonus. That's kind of nice. Actually, the bonus to intelligence checks is pretty solid because it's not something that a lot of warlocks are good at. So that's a really nice ribbon feature. And then from 14th level, you can use an action to revive your expended eldritch heads in a frenzied burst, during which time they become visible to everyone. When you do, you regain all of your heads, which release a thunderous roar audible out to 300 feet as they tear into existence. Choose a number of creatures within 60 feet of you up to the number of your heads you regain in this way. Each target must make an intelligence saving throw against your warlock spell save DC. Intelligence saving throws are really solid against monsters, so that's good. On a failed save, they take 4d8 psychic damage and they're incapacitated until the end of your next turn. On a successful save, they take half as much and aren't incapacitated. You can do this once per long rest. This is really cool because it encourages you to use all of your heads, still a weird sentence, to then regain them with this specific feature. And on top of all of this, you're still a warlock, which means you're one of the most customizable classes in the game. I actually think this is a really, really interesting subclass, and one that I would seriously consider playing if I was going to play a warlock. Yeah. Finally, we have the Wand Law Wizard. We can do this. We can get to the end of this video together. I believe in us. I've been recording for 58 minutes. Some children will grow up sword fighting with sticks and become soldiers, but you've learned how to turn a simple stick into something more powerful than a blade. The study of wand law delves deeper into old magic beyond the normal list of components and incantations and into the rich history and tradition of wandcraft. As a wizard of wand law, you know that a mage's true power can be amplified with the right tool. For you, that tool is a wand of your own creation. You make your own wand. That's pretty cool. Second or third level, you create a special wand called a core wand, which you can use as your spellcasting focus for your wizard spells. You determine the wand's appearance, and only you are capable of using it. You can use a bonus action to summon the wand to your hand, regardless of physical or planar distances. If the wand is destroyed, you can make a new one over the course of 8 hours of work. Your core wand gains power each time you use it to cast a spell. The wand can have up to 7 of these core charges at a time, and whenever you finish a long rest, the number of core charges resets to 1. Whenever you expend a spell slot to cast a spell of first level or higher while holding it, gains a number of core charges equal to half the spell's level minimum of 1. So you can spam shield to just charge your wand up. You can then use these charges in the following ways. Whenever you make an attack or saving throw, you can expend any number of core charges to gain a bonus to the roll equal to the number of charges spent. You can wait until after you roll the d20, but you must decide before the GM says whether the roll succeeds or fails. When you are hit by an attack, you can expend any number of wands as a reaction, any number of charges as a reaction to gain a bonus AC just against that attack, equal to the number of core charges spent. I think you're mostly going to be doing the first one because ultimately you're a wizard, so you have shield. At level 2 or 3, you can interpret staves or wands the way that other wizards read scrolls and spell books. If a staff or wand in your possession can cast a spell that's on your wizard list, that's on the wizard spell list, you can copy that into your spell book. In addition, when you cast a wizard spell with a range of touch while holding your core wand, you can choose a target that you can see and isn't behind cover up to 10 feet away from yourself. At level 40, this range increases to 30. That's sick! We love being able to mess around with the range of things. I love it. Level 6, you get Arcane Battery. When you use your Arcane Recovery feature, your core wand gains 3 expended core charges. In addition, you gain a new option to use your wand's core charges. When you cast a spell that only targets one creature and forces it to make a saving throw, you can expend up to 3 core charges to gain a bonus to the spell save DC equal to the number of core charges spent. You can make your spells harder to resist. Level 10, you get Imbue Minor Wand. Whenever you finish a long rest, you can imbue a number of wizard spells from your spellbook up to your intelligence modifier into a non-magical stick, dowel, or similar tiny object, transforming it into a magic wand. Each spell must be a cantrip or a first or second level spell and have a casting time of 1 action or bonus action. In addition, the spells can't require concentration or any material components that indicate a cost or are consumed as part of the casting of the spell. If the spell is a cantrip, it mustn't be able to damage a target. Okay. The wand has a number of charges equal to your intelligence modifier. 0 charges for a cantrip, 1 charge for a first level spell, 2 charges for a second level spell. A creature holding the wand can use an action to cast one of the spells from it using your spell save DC, attack bonus, or spell casting ability, and the wand ceases to be magical the next time you finish a long rest. So you can imbue your a stick with spells and give that to someone. So you can make your own spell storing ring to give to players, and they don't have to attune to it to use it. It limits the kinds of spells you can use, but that's really powerful. Finally, when you reach 14th level, you can convert the core charges within your wand into raw arcane energy. By manipulating this energy, you can use the wand's core charges in the following new ways. As a bonus action, you can expend 1 or more of the charges to create a number of motes of magical force equal to the charges spent. Each mote streaks towards a different target you can see within 60 feet of you, dealing damage to 1d4 plus your intelligence modifier. You can make a super magic missile, basically. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of you takes damage, you can use your reaction to expend one or more of the core charges to create a magical barrier, reducing the damage taken by an amount equal to 3 times the number of core charges spent. In addition, if you expend the last charge of a staff or wand, you don't need to roll a d20 even if it says so. You can't break your staves and your wand. And the gold and time you must spend to craft a magic wand is halved. That's a really awesome wizard subclass. I think I've said this in most of the review videos I've done. I have a real issue with wizard subclasses in general. I think they're incredibly dull. So ones like this where you're taking a specific concept and making it far more interesting, I just think it's better. It's just more interesting, which is huge for me personally. Better for flavor, more fun mechanically too, which is really important. I think overall the list of subclasses here is really solid. I think the Griffon Saddlebag, ironically, I would not buy the Griffon Saddlebag just for the subclasses. It's for everything else that you're getting. But even if you did get it just for the subclasses, I do think you're probably getting your money's worth. The subclasses are fun. They're all really full of flavor. You could build some really interesting character concepts just from these, and I think that says a lot about the ingenuity of the way that this book is written. It's one of my favorite books that you can buy on D&D Beyond. It's up there with Helliana's and the Crooked Moon for me, quite comfortably, and the number of magic items you get as well. As a DM, I'm constantly giving out items from this book. But yeah, that is that for this review. If you enjoyed this, please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.